still have some reserved seats for the Pioneers, so if you're still looking for a seat and you're a Pioneer, come on up to the front.
All right. Welcome. Welcome to Siggraph 2025. Welcome to beautiful Vancouver. We are here again. I'm Ginger Alford, chair of this year's conference, and I can think of no better way to start our week at Siggraph than today's special event that highlights the technical and artistic excellence that you find here at Siggraph. We are celebrating a proud example of the innovation and impact our community of computer scientists, engineers, artists, designers, and storytellers achieve together. Thanks to the Siggraph Pioneers Chair Ed Kramer, and thanks to Computer Animation Festival Director Don Fidrick, and of course our special guest, Ed CATMULL. Thanks, Ed and Don, for bringing this event together and working together to create this amazing experience. And please now welcome our CAF Director, Don Fidrick. All right.
Hello again, everyone. Many of you in the audience today are pioneers, and the others of you are pioneers in the making. I hope that us coming together as the Pioneers Group and the Computer Animation Festival will help us nurture a deeper connection, and I hope this is the beginning of many more events that we can share. The continued, yes. Please continue connecting this week at the Computer Animation Festival, the Electronic Theater, which you may very well know, and the Animation Theater, which takes place daily in this room, as well as the Animation Theater in Conversation, where you can meet filmmakers at the meet and greet afterwards. And please stay to participate in a question and answer session with our esteemed, prestigious speaker. And for giveaways, that you all got those raffle tickets, thank you for your patience out front. And those are the bags there. We'll give those away after this session before the screening. Please welcome Siggraph Pioneers, Ed Kramer.
Hi, guys. Can we cue up the slide presentation? There we go. Okay. So this has got to be the largest live Pioneers group ever in our history. So thank you all for coming. One of the things that I've tried to do as chair is to bring the Pioneers more into the fold of the actual conference. It was that we were having our reception off campus at a hotel ballroom, and now we're trying to become more integrated with the conference so that everybody can hear our amazing Pioneers featured speakers. So I just want to ask, how many of you have started your computer graphics career in 2005 or earlier? A lot of you. Okay, well, you guys are a pioneer because that's the definition. That's the definition of what the pioneers are. We're people that have been in this industry for at least 20 years. So everyone who's been in the industry since 2005, you are eligible to join. So let me tell you some of the things that we do as the Siggraph Pioneers. We have a lot of events, and if you go to the Siggraph website, you'll see our page. And if you look down there, you'll see a link that says View Siggraph Pioneers Online Content. We do a lot of online panels and presentations and get-togethers. We have done panels on the analog years of computer graphics, which is near and dear to my heart as being an analog animator, talking about the graphics processors, digital art and animation, the computer graphics education. We've done a couple of panels on generative AI, and we've done a panel on computer graphics in aerospace, which is going to be reprised in September in conjunction with the LA local chapter We're going to have the same speakers back. So I know there was a technical glitch that night, so anyone who was not able to join us then, you'll be able to join us in September. We also have our featured speakers, a number of them online. You can see Doug Trumbull, Donna Cox, Ken Perlin, Mary and Nick. And then we've done interviews with a lot of the chairs of different conferences over the years. And more are coming. We've got a lot done, but we still have a number of conferences that we haven't covered yet. And then, of course, every year we have our reception. So this is a place where we all get a chance to meet and greet each other. There's food, there's a cash bar. Everybody gets a free drink ticket for being a pioneer. And this is only open to the pioneers. But now, instead of being off-site at a hotel, we also hold the reception on-site. And if you become a Pioneer member, you will be welcome to come and share. And what's great about these is people that you've been in awe of your entire career, you can just walk up to. I started Siggraph in 1983, and at the time, oh my God, Jim Blinn was a god. And last year at the reception, he came up and started a conversation with me, and it was like, oh my God, I'm talking to Jim Blinn. So it's just really, really fun. Okay. They have it wrong in what they say here. They say Pioneer membership is $70. It's not. Pioneer membership is only $20. The other $50 is the Siggraph membership. So I've been hoping to get this thing changed to be more reflective of what's actually happening. And the $20 all goes for the food for the reception. And any other very small expenses on other things. So I did make a poster here. There is a QR code. If you scan it, it'll take you right to the membership page on the Siggraph website. So remember, being a Pioneer only costs $20, not $70. Next year, our Pioneers featured speaker, he's sitting in the front row here, Henry Fuchs, will be speaking to us. So and on Tuesday, we have another amazing event. Well, Tuesday, our Pioneers reception is going to be in the late afternoon at 4:30. But before that, at 2:15 to 3:15, Scott Ross, who was he was the president of Industrial Light and Magic during the early days of Terminator 2 and The Abyss, and he was there for the beginnings of Jurassic Park. And then he went over and started Digital Domain along with James Cameron and Stan Winston, and he has just written a book. Unfortunately, because of tariff issues and the weirdness going on, we don't have a bookstore this year, but he will still be signing. I think he has something to sign for everybody at a meet and greet at 3:30 in the West Ballroom C lobby. So Scott is an amazing person. He has fought his entire career and he's fought his heart out for the artists. As someone in management who fights for the artists, he's a rare breed, and I really encourage everyone to come hear what he has to say in his book. Okay, that is Tuesday. And I was asked to share this with you, TU Darmstadt, celebrating 50 years. So this is a QR code. So if you upload, if you want to say a few words to the people at TU Darmstadt, please do that. And I want to thank Lou Harrison for designing the trophy that we are about to present to Ed, sitting right over there. I don't think you knew that. But Lou worked with Ari Blankhorn and the whole team at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab to do a 3D printed nice little trophy. One of the sad things that I do as Pioneers Chair is I create an in memoriam video every year, and those are all online. You can track them down. And this year, we lost a legend of our own, Norm Badler. And this year, we also lost one of my best friends in the world, Barry. So I just wanted to let you guys take a look at Barry. He and I... He and I must have shared a hotel room together at like 20 Siggraphs over the years. He was a pioneer, and he was here in Vancouver and worked for every company out there. Amazing guy. So just wanted to shout out my friend. When people found out about this event, a couple of people got in touch with me. One of them, Joel Cohen, said to say hi, Ed, and he wishes everybody here, Ed and Siggraph, well, and told me that he was the guy that came up with the name Buzz Lightyear. So there you go. That's the guy who named Buzz. And believe it or not, Bonnie Arnold, who was the co-producer of Toy Story and then had a legendary career producing all of the How to Train Your Dragon movies, all of my students love her. Bonnie and I went to high school together in Atlanta, Georgia. Crazy, isn't it? And so a few years ago during COVID, I did an interview with her, and this is what Bonnie had to say about working on Toy Story.
I think that was the interesting thing about Toy Story, is that no one had ever really done anything quite like that. There was never a feature that had been done in all computer animation, never a film that had been completely edited digitally on the Avid, which was just brand new to working in film. So there were a lot of firsts on that movie, and I think there were a lot of people with a lot of specialties. I knew a lot about features, Pixar knew a lot about computer animation, Disney knew a lot about traditional animation and the process, and again, everybody had a specialty, and I liken a lot of times to just looking at a dirt road and having a few paving stones, and every day we would sort of come in and say, okay, should we put the paving stone over here or should we put it over here? And then we would actually all take a step forward. And sometimes, we had to kind of step back and adjust where we're going in terms of paving the way.
And speaking of paving the way, we have here an amazing person who really, really needs no introduction. We all know Ed Catmull and his amazing career, so without any further ado, here's what we came for. Ed Catmull. I just want to present you with this. Hold it up. Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, got it? Thank you, Ed. I'm so happy to be here with friends and colleagues and fellow pioneers and other old people and new people here. Also, we've got some people who aren't normally part of the community. My two grandsons are here from Italy, Aldo and Leo. They're pretty special. It's actually a special time for me. I raised 6 children, and I only one daughter, and she just had a baby 4 months ago. She named the baby after me. She called her Eddie, and Eddie was born exactly on my 80th birthday. So it's a pretty special time in my life. But now to this story. Frequently people ask me what my favorite Pixar film is. And of course, I never give a straight answer. But whatever my personal list is, I don't include Toy Story. Toy Story belongs in a different category from any of our later films. It was a lived experience, one that permanently changed the lives of all of us who made it. Today I want to share the experiences of it, some of the context, the background, the tension, and the drama. Others would give a different narrative with different memories and viewpoints, all of which are true, but none are complete. And pardon me if I read part of this. I can get lost going down rabbit holes accumulated over 50 years. Toy Story was made in the years 1991 to 1995, a time that was also a major inflection point for the entire film industry. Before 1990, there was very little digital technology in the major studios. It was essentially irrelevant to them. But in certain companies and in academia, people were solving foundational problems. And of course, an immense amount of work was done in the Siggraph community. This is where academia and companies came together to share, a quality I deeply appreciate. This is my intellectual home. By the end of that period, 1991 to 95, everything had changed. Audio, editing, computer imagery, all transformed. It started in 1991 with Terminator 2. It was the first time in a feature film with a significant CGI character, the liquid metal robot. That was also the same year in which Pixar signed a deal with Disney to make a computer animated film. In 1993, Jurassic Park came out. Those dinosaurs hit the industry like an earthquake. But here's a surprising fact. There were only 52 CGI shots, around 4 to 5 minutes total. That's it. Almost everyone I know in the film industry they can't believe that the number is so low, which demonstrates how potent they were. Steven Spielberg is a genius when it comes to less is more. And finally, in 1995, Toy Story was released. Here's the backstory for Toy Story. Pixar was acquired from Lucasfilm in 1986 by Steve Jobs. Our charter at Lucasfilm had been to bring technology into filmmaking. But at that time, as we spun off, making a computer animated film was nowhere near economical. To survive, we tried a lot of things: manufacturing and selling the hardware we designed, writing medical software, and selling our rendering software. We entered into a contract with Disney to write software for painting 2D cells. This was called CAPS. It stands for Computer Aided Production System. We made short films, which were mainly shown here at Siggraph. And then we started to make commercials. However, we weren't making any money. Steve kept us afloat through those very stressful years. We did have a plan, though. We wanted to move towards our goal. So the plan was advance from short films to commercials, and then on to a half-hour special, and finally a feature film. A logical progression to grow the team, increase software capabilities, and build experience. John Lasseter hired Andrew Stanton and Pete Docter as our first animators. Their commercials won many awards. Also didn't make much money for us. At the time, we had no idea how extraordinarily good both Andrew Stanton and Pete Docter were to become. By 1990, we reached the point where we felt we were ready to make a half-hour special. The idea was for a Christmas special loosely based on John's short film, Tin Toy. We pitched it to studios, but not to Disney, because John didn't have a very good experience there. Meanwhile, Disney was having immense success with animation, starting with Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Lion King. They then decided to fund smaller, more specialized films made by others. And then with those outside films, they would release them with their tremendous marketing capability. The first film they greenlit was the film Nightmare Before Christmas, directed by Henry Selick and made in San Francisco. They referred to this as a boutique film. At the same time, we had a trusted technical relationship with Disney because of our work on Caps. And of course, they'd seen our award-winning short films and commercials. In their minds, maybe CGI could work for a boutique film. Peter Schneider, president of Disney Animation, called me into his office in Burbank to say they would like us to make an animated movie. I told him we weren't quite ready for it yet. The size was too big, it was too long, and that we were only capable of making a half-hour TV special. He said, if you can do 30 minutes, you can do 75. I thought about it for about 5 nanoseconds and said, you're right. Steve Jobs, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and the lawyers then negotiated a 3-picture deal. The financial terms for us were lousy, but this was our big chance. We had 2 producers, Ralph Guggenheim, who had produced our short films and commercials, and Bonnie Arnold, who you just saw, who was hired by Disney to work with us. They signed another experienced producer, Kathleen Gavin, for additional guidance. She was our disciplined producer mentor, and she was very good. They also sent a Disney employee, Kevin Rear, as the production controller for the movie, which made some people nervous. They were worried that he might be a spy since he was the only full-time Disney employee in the building. I said, don't worry about it. Once he's here, he will become one of us. And he did. Later becoming a Pixar producer and a very good friend. Technically, we had a system that was developed for short films and commercials, each of which ranged from 30 seconds to 4 minutes. Now we had to scale for more than an hour, build far more complicated sets than we had ever built, with far more characters. We only had 4 animators to begin with, and most of the people that we could hire were trained in 2D animation. They hadn't used any computer tools, and 3D animation tools barely existed outside of a handful of companies. Everybody was new and inexperienced, and we had no template to use for anything that we were doing. Bill Reeves ran a very experienced team, people who had been together for a long time, going back to Lucasfilm. We had the entire computer graphics team who had made so many contributions at Lucasfilm and Pixar, and who had published so many papers here at Siggraph. The challenge was to add artists and animators into a technical culture and set it up so that all felt like peers with each other. I feel very proud that this was a relationship that they did have, and it became one of our greatest strengths. Creatively, John Lasseter led the team. No one, artistic or technical, had ever made a film before, let alone a computer-animated film. John brought in Joe Rampt as head of story, who had worked on Nightmare Before Christmas. Fundamentally, though, none of us knew what we were doing. But all of these people were intense learners. Andrew, John, Pete, and Joe went to Bob McGee's famous course on screenplay writing several times, absorbing everything they could. We hired a couple of writers and some editors. The first editors didn't work out until John found Lee Unkrich, fresh out of film school, who clicked immediately. Lee made phenomenal contributions and additions to Toy Story, and then went on to direct Toy Story 3 and Coco. We quickly dropped the Tin Toy Christmas special idea, but we stuck with toys as the characters because rigid plastic was at the edge of what we could do. It was a constraint. Although good artists understand the value of constraints and how it can stimulate creativity. We had a wonderful storyboard artist, Bud Luckey, who was older than the rest of us, and he suggested that the main characters be a cowboy and a spaceman, symbolizing the collision between the old and the new. A great concept. Tom Hanks and Tim Allen signed on, and we made a few preliminary pieces to test the voices and the look of the characters. Buzz was quite short, and Woody was extremely jealous of this new toy. Basically, he was very unlikable. But the work of discovering the characters and the story had started. The story evolved through iterative reels shown to Disney, although their creative suggestions, frankly, weren't very helpful. The model of the way they made films was different than what we were using. But the movie wasn't coming together, and there were all kinds of debates about the rules of this toy world. For instance, why do toys just fall over and stop talking when people come around? Finally, Andrew said we shouldn't explain it. We shouldn't explain anything. People will intuitively understand the rules for the toy world. And you did. Yet everyone knew the film wasn't working. They didn't like the characters or the relationships. Roy Disney Jr., who was our friend and advocate, saw the reels and said he didn't get it at all. Disney suggested turning it into a musical with 5 to 7 songs. It worked well for them. But our creative leadership did not want to copy somebody else's formula. They wanted this new kind of animation to be different and to be a story they wanted to tell. Then one evening, sitting in my car in a parking lot, I got a call from Peter Snyder. He said, "It's not working. We need to stop production. The only way forward is for you to move the entire team down to Burbank to continue under our supervision." After the call ended, I sat in the parking lot, fearing that all that we had worked on may come crashing down. At this point, the pressure was so high that I likely had the order of some of the events wrong, because they're all mushed together in my mind. One of those days was called Black Friday. For me, many of those days seemed black. We all knew this was an existential crisis for the company. Of course, we said no to the idea of moving. That would have been the end of Pixar. We were given one more chance to turn it around. We changed writers. We brought in Joss Whedon, and Andrew Stanton started writing with him. The creative team holed up and made the stories theirs. Just watching this creative process was inspirational. It's actually quite indescribable to see that long, lengthy process as they were really focusing on the problem. It's not personal. They were they had intense debates with each other, but they were all in support of each other. It was really pretty remarkable. When Disney saw the new reels, they loved them. And Ralph hurried to the production team to tell them we were back on, and production resumed. We also struggled with the name of the film. Toy Story was a placeholder name, and we couldn't find anything that worked. Clearly, Buzz and Woody was problematic. You know what I mean? In the end, we used the placeholder name as the title, which was, in fact, the right one. Ironically, here we were making a movie about toys, and Mattel and Hasbro wouldn't touch it. There was only one company interested in making toys for us, a new company called Thinkway Toys. Their founder, Albert Chan, agreed to make high-end toys of Buzz and Woody, and he bet his company on it. He built up this inventory, hoping that we were right. If the film didn't work, then his company would fail. The only other significant company that agreed to make toys was Burger King for giveaway toys for the kids' meals. The little toys were on model, and they were very popular. That was pretty much it. The problem was that the lead time for making toys was about 22 months ahead of time, which frankly was absurd, still is. But no one outside of Pixar believed in the film until around the last 18 months. We also had to negotiate the rights to use existing characters in our films, which meant negotiating with Mr. Potato Head's lawyer. Barbie was also in the original story, but Mattel wouldn't let her be used. It's an interesting story there, but I won't go down that rabbit hole. However, once she wasn't available, the creative team came up with a solution which actually made the film a lot better. For most of this time, Disney still referred to this as a boutique film with low expectations in the box office. But as we got closer, Disney marketing, led by Dick Cook, realized it could be big, and the full creative force of a very good Disney marketing team was put on the film to create a masterful campaign. Steve Jobs believed it was going to be big too, and that it would change the industry. He also knew that the financial terms meant we'd see very little revenue. He told us he wanted to take Pixar public right after the movie came out, which seemed completely crazy to me. And this is the logic he then gave us. We will be successful, and Michael Eisner will realize he's just helped create his worst nightmare, a competitor. So Michael wanted to renegotiate, this is what he's saying, Michael will want to renegotiate to keep us tied up with Disney longer. But when he comes to us, we want to be equal partners, both in sharing the revenue and the costs. But we don't have any money to fund half of the production of a film, so we need the IPO money. Steve can be very convincing. And he was correct. It all happened that way. On November 22nd, 1995, Toy Story was released in the theaters. As you would guess, all of us read the reviews as they came out. Almost every single one had only one or two sentences saying this was computer animation. The reviews were all about the story. For the artists and the technical people, this was the true measure of success. Each of us would tell this story a different way, with different memories, but we were all changed by it. Toy Story changed the industry, but more importantly, it added something meaningful to the culture. This has been a story about an incredible merging of art and technology by people who believed in it and held a strong desire to add something of value to the world. Today, we're all aware we're about to enter a new inflection point. I hope our story gives you some insight for your journey. Thank you.
We are now going to have questions, question and answers. So if anyone would like to come up to the microphone and ask Ed questions, please do so. It's the microphone down here in the center. This is Ian Fales of the Befores and Afters podcast. I think it was the soldiers coming down on the...
Oh yeah, that was actually, interestingly enough, that film, the soldier thing was made fairly early. It was put into production early because we knew it was establishing what the world was like. And as the story changed around it dramatically, we knew that piece was going to hold. So this was like a tentpole production piece for us to really get us going. So that was the reason for that. It's the reason we could show it, because when you saw that, you said, oh, holy cow, this is quite different.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay.
So I apologize. I'm going to test your memory once more. Was that wall of SGI workstations the render farm?
Oh,
Sorry.
no, actually the SGI workstations we used for the animation and the modeling, but for the render farm, we started off with 18 Sun computers. Now, we knew, incidentally, when we signed the contract, the amount of money that was allowed for it in no way was going to buy enough compute power for the movie. And Bill Reeves is saying, this is nuts. We can't even agree to this. So, you're right, but let's get this. We'll start down this slippery slope. By the end of the film, we had 300 Sun processors. Initially, because we called it the render farm, we actually gave each computer an animal name. And when it finished the rendering, it would make a moo sound or chicken cluck. But after 18, that kind of broke down, and they were numbered.
Hello. First of all, I wanted to thank you, for being here. It's great to meet you. I just had a question. What made you want to pursue a career in the creative field instead of, becoming a lawyer or a doctor, Nothing against lawyers and doctors. Love you guys. But what made you...
I know some good doctors and lawyers.
Yeah, exactly. My dad's a doctor. But here I am. But what made you want to pursue a career in the creative field, and how did that evolve over the years as you did more and more of it?
Well, it was when I was a kid, I wanted to be an animator, and I was very inspired by Walt Disney and the films, and my favorite films of Disney's at the time were Pinocchio and Peter Pan. I mean, they stimulated something. But I remember with Pinocchio in particular that because it stimulated so much in my mind that I actually didn't see it until many, many, many years later. And when I saw it many years later, there were things I distinctly remembered in the film that actually weren't in the film. It had stimulated the way I thought as a child. And for me, this was, an important thing. It's a recognition that way that kids see it is different than the way we see it. But also at the same time, Albert Einstein was this, iconic figure and inspirational. So when I'm in high school, I was a very good artist, but I was also good in math and physics. But I couldn't see how to become really good in animation or in art. There were no animation schools at the time, and I didn't think that that I'd be good enough. So I switched over into physics. And I've actually told this story many times, and often there's a titter in the audience when I switched from art to physics, as if they were incongruous. But I never ever thought that these were incongruous. To me, it's one of the difficulties in society today is that there's so much focus on, the technical side that it actually is not accepting the balance of all the other kinds of crafts and trades and skills that we combine together, as we advance as a society. So when I got to near the end of my time as an undergraduate, I discovered the computer science courses, and fortunately, the first teacher I had was Alan Kay. He was teaching an undergraduate course. So, Alan Kay, of course, later got a Turing Award, but that was actually a good start and just really inspirational. And so I got a second degree in computer science, but then I came back planning to study artificial intelligence. And the first course I took was by Ivan Sutherland, another person who got a Turing Award. And so I was in that class, it was like, holy crap, I can make art, and I can use science and computers to do it. Yeah. How cool is that? So that set the course. And then the culture at Utah set the course of how I thought about working with people. Because that was such a wonderful environment. I wanted to maintain that wherever I went for the rest of my life. It's a real long answer to your question.
No, that was awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi. Your story about merging science and art really resonates with me strongly. But the question I want to ask is, how did you maintain the confidence that you would make the right decisions when things started to go nonlinear?
One of the things I found, because the first time I was actually a manager when I was 30 years old at New York Tech, and I didn't want to be a manager. And I wanted to have the environment that I had at Utah. So I had some theories about how to manage, and some of these theories I had were spot on. Like our decision was, the task is so big that it was folly to think we could do it ourselves, and the best thing we could do was to totally and fully engage with this new emerging computer graphics community of Siggraph and publish everything we did. And that continued through Lucasfilm and even Steve Jobs, who's known to be somewhat secretive. He never questioned our decision to publish everything we did after he'd acquired Pixar. It was important to us. But I also made a bunch of mistakes there as a manager. And so when I left to come to Lucasfilm, I realized that about half of my ideas were right and half were a crock. And that I'd keep doing the things I thought were right, and I'd come up with new theories about how to do things in the future. But that ratio of half right to half wrong would probably continue at Lucasfilm and then would probably continue on through the rest of my life. And for me, this is an important realization because it was true. I'm just half right and half wrong. So basically, when all these screw-ups happen, that falls into the category of, oops, we got to do something different. So I often didn't even look at it as a failure. It's just like, it doesn't work. Let's try something different. And so, that was part of it. And the other was, we had a lot of friends who were buying into this and part of this. So you might have an up or a down, but you got the people around you can be up when you're down. And so that's part of the support. That's what makes it so special. And you frequently look at individuals, like certain people, stand out or they're well known. But the fact is, it was all really a group effort of people working together. And it gives strength. It gives strength to everybody when you do that right.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Ed. I was going to fast forward a little bit, and right now we're involved in some interesting projects with that game company and Odyssey, and I was wondering if you had sort of any new perspectives on creating creative culture, if you've had, if your insights have changed, or if you feel like it's kind of the same thing going forward.
No, first of all, it never stays the same. One of the interesting things about technology is that there was this unusual factor for many years we referred to as Moore's Law, which is kind of a key indicator. But it was really a key indicator of an aggregation of knowledge, an accumulation of knowledge over time, which was manifest by the improvement there. But we could use that as a way of making some rough estimates about, say, the next 15 years. And what I've found along the way is that most people could not make that leap. It's one of the things I got from Alan Kay is things are going to change by a factor of 2 or 3 orders of magnitude. It's going to pretty much affect a lot of things. And, but a lot of companies can't think more than 4 or 5 years. A lot of you know this. So a lot of the recent rethinking was to actually reframe it, because every explanation I've ever tried about exponential growth doesn't work with executives. It doesn't matter. You talk about leaves on a lily pond, or water in stadiums, or rice on checkerboards, all of which are accurate explanations of exponential growth, doesn't mean a thing. I said, stop trying. So basically part of it was rethinking what is this kind of growth. So if I looked at, because it's still going on now, is that if you instead recast it, instead of the number of transistors, is what's the amount of compute power you get per dollar? Well, the amount of compute power per dollar has increased at a compound rate of 40% per year for over 50 years, over 60 years. If you put in those terms, then business people, then they go bug-eyed, because it actually means something to them. Not that they'd make any better decisions, but at least they understand it. But the other one was thinking about the implications of what we were trying to do with the brain trust. Because the brain trust was a system that we'd worked out over time for basically, it wasn't just solving problems, but it was also arriving at the truth of the matter. But I think that's a general principle, is what is the mechanism for you to get outside information? How do you see things that you don't normally see? Because none of us really knew what the answers were. If we're doing something creative, why would we expect ourselves to know the answers to begin with? But how does this apply in other places? And I guess the other analogy which surprises people having to do with trying to come up with insight is actually a Steve Jobs example, and one that almost nobody knows about. But Pixar was a public company for 10 years. And in that 10 years, Steve Jobs fired 2 members of the board of directors. And the reason he fired them was he said they never disagreed. If they don't disagree, they don't bring anything of value to the company. And there was something about that was like, what he wanted was people who would disagree. This isn't personal. I mean, we have these intense debates. And from the outside, people might look at them as arguments, but they weren't about who was right or who was wrong. It's what is right, what is wrong, what isn't working. And if one can get that dynamic right in any organization, you're better off. What are the values, and how do you actually get information, and how do you keep from getting deceived by the success you've had and not get stuck in your past successes and move on to something new, because everything keeps changing, and that's the nature of life.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, Ed. I hope you don't mind. I want to share something that you said a long time ago.
Hi, Ronan.
Hi. You can't see me in here.
The lights were there. So I recognize that voice.
Yes. So at the very end of after Toy Story wrapped and was out there and successful, I remember at a company meeting, you said something that has stuck with me, and I don't know if you remember saying it. You said, "I hope Toy Story is the worst movie we ever make."
Well, I was very aware that people sometimes try to repeat what they do. And so that became really the challenge, was not, can we make another one? It's like, how do we make something even better?
Yeah, it was great. I loved it when you said that. And thanks. And thanks, of course, for making everything.
Hi.
That was the man who wrote the code to animate Slinky Dog.
Yeah, we had to work with Slinky's lawyers also.
I have a question about your Black Friday moment. How do you take a team, just yourself and a team, and inspire them for like real depths of despair to like inspiration? Do you have a recipe? And was there a specific moment where you turned things around? Can you remember what you said or did or what happened that kind of flipped the switch?
Well, for this one, because it was such a shared thing, there wasn't really anything that I said. It's like everybody was trying to make this work. What made it so interesting was that even the new people that came in, they knew that if we did this right, we were making history. They all wanted it to work. So when you say, okay, they don't like it because it's not good enough, and people saw the reels, and they knew there were problems, but the view was, okay, we got to fix this. What do we have to do? So whatever was there was built in ahead of time. So you got to get the buy-in, and you want people to feel like they own it, right? So it isn't like I have to come in and say, oh, this is what you're going to do, and I'm going to give a rah-rah speech. Crap, I've done that. It's already too late. You want them to own it, so when it happens, like we all feel, oh crap, what do we do now? That's a good place to be.
Thank you.
Although scary.
Hi. So I'm a student volunteer at Siggraph this year, and I've learned about your career through both contexts throughout university, from the Pixar creative side and the CATMULL ROM spline type graphics innovation. And I was wondering if you have any words of wisdom for the students or younger people at this conference on how you can get involved in both of the sides instead of just focusing specifically on the creative aspect or the graphics and mathematical aspect.
Well, I mean, typically a lot of us have areas where we're better than others. I do feel that it's important for people to have an area in their life of great depth. But I also feel it's important to have great breadth, to know a lot of things and be curious about a lot of things. On the issue of, like the art and the technology, the interesting thing to me is that for the technical people, a lot of them are really good musicians. And interestingly enough, people don't seem to think that there's a conflict between music and other things, but that art somehow falls into a different category from the rest of the world. It's just sort of bizarre. I don't even know how to respond to it because I don't get it. It's one of the things that really pissed me off. This is forever. It's when the funding gets cuts in schools, the first thing that goes are the art programs. What the hell? I mean, learning about art isn't about learning to draw, it's about learning to see. And which are the fields of which it's not important to be observant and to see? So the notion of the separation, I just feel fundamentally something it's got to be wiped out. It's like they really do belong together, whether it's music or the arts or writing. It's like your skills. We vary in that. Frankly, I'm a crappy writer, so that's not my strength. But I do other things well. So, you just put together what you've got and be broad and curious. And the other thing was, and for me personally, I've never been bored in my life. I don't know what it's like to be bored. That's what's scary. But I think that's what I like people. It's like they're looking at stuff all the time. That's what this team was like. They were just curious people. Curiosity is good.
Thank you.
Hi. A personal thanks from me. I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for the work that you and your team did on this film. So thank you for that. I was interested to know, what was the kind of environment like in the studio when you were working on this show? Were you saying, I need to change this part of this story because we don't have the technology to do that? Like, how are you figuring out those problems and figuring out we are just at a limit here and we need to change course because of that?
Well, basically, you've got a team working on various elements, whether it's how do you make the characters, how do you animate them, how do you model them, but also what's the story. For the story, there are the writers, the director, a story team around them, and they storyboard them to mock up the film. And then they put this all together so you see it as a mock-up of the movie with temporary voices and temporary music to get the pacing right. And if it doesn't work. And then after we see it, maybe it take 3 months to put it together, and you put it together, you look at it and say, well, what doesn't work and why doesn't it work? If you like something, and you say, why don't you like it? But it's not a matter of delusion. It's like people know if it doesn't work. And when you show something new to people, you're also, if you're the director or the person creatively in charge, and it works, you also feel kind of exposed, and vulnerable. So what that means is the team has to respect the vulnerability, and they have to be honest. And everybody has to be honest. But when you do that a few times, everybody gets that, and they're used to it. And they look forward to the help that comes. And we even have rules in these meetings. They call them the brain trust meetings. But nobody can tell the director what to do. So, because we're not trying to come in so they're afraid or they're under fear. It's like we're just trying to help. And we don't even have heavy-duty decisions before or after because we don't want to overload this important meeting. But then to give the notes, and then people iterate on it to make it better and better. And that's the trick, is to keep that iterative process until you get to the point you really like what you've got. We've never brought in consultants to tell us how to improve the process because it costs way too much money. Gee, it costs a lot of money. And because a consultant could look at it and say, well, you know, it'd be a lot less, it would cost a lot less money to make these films if you just got the story right in the first place. Right. And that's true. And it's irrelevant. So it's just, I mean, for us, I know I'm rambling around this thing because all these things are connected together, but it really is that group looking at it. And for the artists, for instance, they know full well there are limits with the technology. That's why we made toys. Nobody was saying, oh, yeah, I need to have, you know, X, Y, Z to do this. Like, they were realistic about it. What can we do? They pushed the boundaries. Well, that's what they're supposed to do. It's what we're all supposed to do. It's like, you push the boundaries, and you don't go so far out that you can't do it, and you don't be so conservative that you don't do anything interesting. So you go out in a place which is this sort of scary middle land, and that's where you want to be, is in the scary middle.
Thank you very much.
Hi. So tangentially related to a previous question, but what do you think the future direction of the animation industry is going in terms of like future innovations and things like that?
Well, it's very clear that generative AI is coming. I think, clearly there are some people who are afraid of it. It's also clear because unlike when we went through that transition period before, the industry wasn't that afraid of it. We were just irrelevant to them. So it wasn't the sort of thing that's going on right now, and it's pretty interesting because right now you've got agreements and lawyers and fear, and because there are some negative things that are happening as a result of all the changes taking place, for sure. And there are things that are going to be very positive that come out of it. They're both going to happen. And so one doesn't deny that. But at the same time, you have to engage. And right now, the opportunity to use this to help with filmmaking and good storytelling is rather immense. It's a great opportunity. And the thing I believe in this community is like, and I believe the studio should also do this, and the actors and the writers, is to engage with this because it's coming, whether we like it or not. So this is a community that engages. That's who we should all be. Engage and then bring the right values to it.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Ed. So I have a confession that's probably 30 years post-due and a question that it leads to. So I came and interviewed at Pixar in early '95 and was shown by you real and animatic of Toy Story in progress, a lot of viewport renders. I didn't admit it at the time. I've never been to before this, and just this room with my personal friends. Didn't know you guys were working on a film. I just wanted to come work for you and make computer graphics because I loved computer graphics. And I watched, and I didn't understand what I was being shown because I didn't know you were working on a film. I couldn't think of a question to ask, so I asked, it seems like there's a lot of viewport renders. Are you going to be done in time? And the answer is, we'll be done in time. But, you know, I've wondered, it seems like that wasn't obvious, especially early on. When did you get the confidence to actually believe, yes, we can actually assemble a feature-length film? And after you committed to that, were there times where you kind of called that into doubt and you wondered, hey, maybe we can't actually do this?
Well, after those first few tests, I believed that from the production point of view that we could do that. So that wasn't really a worry. It was hard, that team, and they had a lot of problems to solve. But I mean, I'd worked with these people for 15, 20 years. I knew what they were capable of doing and solving, and the artists knew how to accommodate if something couldn't be done and make the changes. I mean, that's part of the process in any case. It was getting a story which was going to work and would appeal to young and old that was the hard part, and make something that was meaningful. And that was definitely new territory for all of us. But in terms of making it, for me, that wasn't the issue.
Thank you.
Hello. I have a question about perspective and hindsight. I'm wondering, given everything that was new in what you did as a team, as a production, are there things that at the time maybe you didn't think much over, or maybe you completely overlooked, and with decades of perspective that now you think were very important or even instrumental in either positive or negative ways?
No, actually. It was just part of the learning. I mean, there were things which actually we learned that were true at the time, and later they were no longer true. It's just like that was part of the advance. But for me, it's like, yeah, we were doing the best we could, and I don't know how we could have done any better.
So there was no sort of oh, we were lucky to do that because that's actually how.
No, we had a lot of luck. Just in terms of the people that came together and accidental meetings and those things. And Brad says luck favored the prepared. We were preparing, but I also don't conflate luck with the actual work, and I appreciate luck when it happens. We'll take advantage of it.
Thank you.
Hi there. I hope you're having a good day. I just wanted to ask that you were talking about the confliction point, Moore's law, singularity. I'm a filmmaker. I started with Blender, Unreal Engine, and now I'm turning towards AI, and I'm also seeing VR. What are your opinions of the new revolution that's happening? Because I feel like I'm betraying my own community a lot.
That you're what?
Like, working with AI, I'm thinking that I'm betraying my own community as the artist, and I'm an artist myself. So what do you think, if Moore's law is true, how can we make this ethical, or do you think the next Toy Story could be made with this?
Well, no, the answer is no, you're not betraying anything. This is it's a result of this phenomenal aggregation of knowledge and the compounding of knowledge and technology over many years, and it's fairly dramatic. So since I know there are people who are bad actors or companies that are egregiously, I won't go down that too much further on that path, but I think you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
That's going to happen, but all it means is you act with integrity, and if you're an artist, you're still an artist. You have a different set of tools. And do I know what they are? No, I don't. That's why it's an inflection point. It's the beginning of an inflection point. And I expect in the next few years it's going to be fairly dramatic. So, work with it and become part of it. Become the good part of it. That's what you should do, is become the good part of this change that's coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you for the amazing questions and the presentation, the time and the conversation. We're going to give away. These are the giveaways we have in these bags here. Please give another